So, Jazz, thank you for coming and speaking with me. So, obviously, the title of this podcast is Training with Epilepsy, but the condition you have is a little bit more than epilepsy, isn't it?
Yeah, epilepsy is part of the condition I have. It's basically I've got a rare form of a rare autoimmune condition called Churg-Strauss syndrome, and that condition has basically affected my whole body. As my body's white blood cells are constantly attacking it, and I'm having to keep ahead of it by keeping a healthy lifestyle, living healthy. And the epilepsy came probably about 6 months into me being hospitalised 20 years ago, and it was when I was in ICU, and I had a reaction to something, and then it just, the epilepsy from the stress of everything came about, and then they had to sedate me for 6 weeks and to bring it down, and ever since then I've had epilepsy. However, I did manage to get rid of it, because I mean, you could be born with it, or you could get it through a head injury or chronic stress. I did manage to get rid of it for over 10 years, but during lockdown, the stress around lockdown really impacted my health.
It back.
Yeah, really impacted it, because I'm on the extremely vulnerable list, so I couldn't go anywhere. We just moved out, and everything was new. I was taking care of the kids a lot more than I was before. My wife was still working, because she's working in a field that allowed her to work, which is taking care of, she runs a care agency. So I was doing a lot more, and I wasn't able to work out at the time either, because trying to buy stuff online for workout equipment is very difficult, and I find bodyweight exercises weren't very beneficial to me, so I struggled with even getting a routine. Everything basically got thrown out of what I had. I mean, the one thing anyone with a long-term health condition will tell you is you need a routine. Once you've got a good formula, a good routine helping you manage your condition, you do very much little outside of it, because it can impact it. I mean, it doesn't hold you behind any bars so you can't get on with your life. However, you do need to be mindful that you have a condition, and you have to manage your time and food and just how you are. You still live a full life. I mean, looking at me, people see me in the gym, and they're always a bit shocked that I'm nearly 40, and they go, you don't look like someone with a health condition, but I do have a health condition. One of those things is epilepsy. It's a malfunctioning nerve in the brain, and it can be brought on by a numerous amount of things. With myself, it's through chronic stress, lack of sleep, fatigue, and those are the main things that trigger it. And if I've not had a good night's sleep, and I'm doing a lot more.
You say that you managed to get it under control, and that lockdown was quite the turning point because of the stress that lockdown came. Obviously, we've had a lot of conversations about how it affects your day to day, but maybe if you could just describe just how severe it is, like how many seizures have you had and what can trigger them?
Since moving into the new house we have now, that was June 21, I've had, the last one was yesterday, that was the 12th of February, but that was my 200th one.
200 seizures?
Yeah, I've been in hospital a few times with it. I've been found on the street by people passed out because I've had the seizure, and that's not a regular occurrence, but it's happened on 3 occasions. Once I was found by 2 of my clients, and they actually got an Uber and dropped me home. Another time I was just out for a walk. I ended up getting a stressful phone call which triggered it, and I quickly rang my wife, because I get auras. I know when I'm about to have one. It's very hard to control it not happening, but I had the aura, and basically I just phoned my wife, told her I'm about to have it, and I didn't have enough time to tell her what road I was on, but a passerby found me. It was a quiet road. He found me, and he picked up my phone. My wife was still on it, and he told her what road he was on. So she then said, just wait with him, don't let him like wander off or anything, because when I come out of it I might not have all my senses. I don't realise this happened or anything. It takes a while for the senses to come back. So she then drove with the kids, but by the time she had arrived, that guy had left and left the phone by my side. But luckily, 2 gentlemen in their car, they had just been passing and they saw her trying to pick me up and get me into the car, they actually stopped and helped her put me back in the car. And as I said, it can come from stress. And the worst thing about it is, you might say, oh, manage your stress or manage your sleep. But the thing with epilepsy is it gives you insomnia. So that messes your sleep up.
Yeah.
Then you're more irritable the next day, which raises your anxiety and stress. And then that's going to then trigger a seizure. And then if you try and work out when you're feeling unwell, that's just added stress to the body. So
I think some of our members might not really realise the life of a PT as well.
no,
Personal training, your start time depends on your clients. What and like what's some of the early sessions you do with a client?
So for example, I used to, when I was not having the epilepsy,
Yeah.
be able to work a lot more. I was having like 10 clients a day. I was working all the hours I could because I'd just become a PT and I didn't know much about managing my time. It was just a case of train who and then whenever, however, weight loss, muscle building, you name it. But as the time's gone on and the more experienced I've become and educated, I've now developed my own niche of people with weight loss and health issues. That's my main niche because I can empathize with them. They'll understand my day to day and how I deal with my condition, because although conditions are different, symptoms are very similar. And because I manage my symptoms very well, I'm able to then teach them to manage their symptoms, which helps them reach their goal. And like my earliest client, and this is only if I feel the person is dedicated, would be 6 a.m.
Yeah.
And for me to get to work, I have to wake up at 4:20 in the morning, get ready, and then get a bus and be here ready for them. So I'm here before them. And everything, as I said, is a routine and preparation. So before I go to bed, I have a set bedtime routine to make sure I get to sleep on time. And if I do have insomnia, then I'm able to somehow overcome it by having enough time in between as a buffer so I get sleep. My breakfast is prepared. I have a daily smoothie in the morning because I don't feel like I can eat first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
So I have something with whey protein, almond butter, blueberries, and water. And I have that ready and prepared, and oats,
Nice.
all in the morning. So it's got my antioxidants, my good fats, it's got enough carbs that I was going to be slowly digested anyway, enough fiber, but the almond butter allows that to be even slower. So I've got slow release glucose coming into my system as well as protein, so I'll stay fuller for longer, and I'm able to manage my first 4 sessions of the day without feeling hungry.
Correct me if you're wrong, but you've been maybe advised by medical professionals to not work, right?
Yeah, I've been actually, not just medical professionals, but my parents didn't want me to work.
Yeah.
They were very hesitant because my condition is very unpredictable. The epilepsy is very unpredictable. There's less than 100 recorded cases of my condition, and epilepsy, to be added to that, is even bigger because there's a high risk of not waking up after a seizure, a sudden death, or having a stroke, or not coming back and being able to use all your limbs. I've got medium nerve damage in my left arm. To look at me, you wouldn't think it, but my left arm, forearm, is a lot smaller because I can't use my middle finger, index finger, or thumb. So I have to use these power hooks in order to do back exercises. I mean, I find if there's a will, there's a way.
Yeah.
And I really wanted to train and get fit and healthy, so I made it happen by finding ways to do that. And the best thing I did was when I met my missus, she actually encouraged me to work. She goes, there's always a job, it doesn't matter what condition you have. And she actually encouraged me to become a PT after becoming a salesperson first, because I felt sales would be best suited to me because of my history. And then it just led me into amount of sales in the gym, which then led me to becoming a PT nutritionist. And I'm blessed that I work in an environment where it's positive. I can
Yeah.
have everything prepared and left at work. So if it's a good day, I feel good, I can train there and then, rather than having to add that into my schedule for the day. Although I am able to help people who need to add it into the day, and rather than them overwhelming themselves and working out too many times in the week, I show them it's possible to actually achieve their goal with doing less and focusing more outside the gym, and which has made a big difference to a lot of my clients. With one of them who's been trying to get his blood sugar down for the last 4 years, and not being able to, and becoming a diabetic. But now he's fine. He's perfect. He's not got the issue with blood sugar finally.
Yeah, that's amazing.
And I've got another couple who've been trying to have a kid, but their hormones weren't synced and they needed to lose weight. They've just had a baby boy. So what helps me be me as a PT is seeing the difference I can make in someone's life as I've made a difference in mine, and it motivates me to come to the gym. And as a life of a PT, it's not easy to pick up a client. I mean, a lot of people, they're not going to want to pay for someone's service because they don't see the benefit of it. But when they actually take time to think about what they're going through and what support it can give them in achieving the goal, and how it's an investment into their future rather than just a PT's pocket, it makes a difference. And one thing I do explain to all my clients is my health condition, what I've overcome, and the fact that I'm not trying to keep them as a client on a long-term basis. It's just a case of you work with me for 12 weeks, I'll make you independent to take care of your life the best I can, and if you need me further to that, I'm here for you. And I will only work within the hours I want to work rather than make myself overwork. That then impacts my health and impacts my family.
I know you've spoken a lot about like the focus on the importance of health. How do you feel like the gym has helped you not just manage your condition, but just impact your lifestyle?
It's helped a lot because my first priority is looking after my health at home, and then feeling safe to go to work. I feel it's a safe environment to work. I mean, what's helped is when I initially had the first seizures, I was working at a different gym, a different branch, a different brand of gym. Everything, people were getting used to me, they knew about my health condition. I started off on a walking stick there and then moved on to not having a walking stick. They saw me grow from a salesperson into the busiest PT there, and they saw me have seizures and still sort of be ready the next day to go again, and then it'd be a big gap between that.
If you don't mind me asking, what caused this in the first place? Because you weren't born with this condition, were you? Are you happy to talk about what?
I was fit and healthy.
Yeah.
I used to play basketball a lot. I was going into the police, and then I must have been out at a festival. The last sort of memory I have of it, because this did impact my memory, and I started having abdomen pain. Went to the hospital, and this was around about the time when I was about 18, 19. And the first thing they said, your white blood cells are high, and you've got pain on your right side near your waist. It's your appendix. They took my appendix out. Then a few days later, after being discharged, I came back with more pain in my abdomen. And at the time, I was having more pain in my abdomen. And what I forgot to mention there, was a year prior to that, when I think I did contract the condition, I had developed asthma. Asthma is the first sign of the condition I have, but the doctors and hospital had put it down to the fact that my mum's asthmatic, so I must be asthmatic. So I was having a lot of inhalers, and I was having chest infections regularly where they were putting me on steroids. And then after that year of being on steroids being one of the main medications that keeps the condition at bay, once they had stopped those steroids, that's when the actual abdomen pain started, and they had taken my appendix out. I returned and they realized that I had perforations in my intestines which were causing the pain, and they'd first opened me up, taken away part of my intestine, and then closed me up, and then when they checked again, I'd reoccurred more holes, and they were like, okay, what do we do here? And then they'd done surgery again, but then I caught MRSA, which is an infection you could catch in the hospital that can potentially kill you. And then they first thought it was Crohn's disease because it mimics it, but it's not, it's completely separate from it. So then one of the doctors just happened to take a guess because nothing was working for me. He took a guess, he goes, I've heard of this condition before, I think it might be that, but let's try the treatment for it to see if it works. He tried the treatment for it, and it was like chemotherapy. It was a steroid that kills your immune system off completely and tries to let your body rebuild its immune system again, and it's called cyclophosphamide, the steroid, if I'm correct. And after that treatment I became pretty weak, but it did start making a difference. They transferred me to London UCLH, which is where the leading expert for my condition is, and then he started treating me. I had again more surgeries for my abdomen, and it got to the point where they weren't going to open and close me anymore. They were managing my gut. They left my abdomen open from my breastbone down to my waist, and my belly button used to be in my far left, and they didn't want to skin graft it because they were like, if we end up wasting skin from your leg and putting it there so it recovers and the skin on the leg would heal, but then they can't keep doing that. So they said, what we're going to do is we're going to take a risk. We're going to leave it open.
How long was it left open for?
It was open for nearly up to a year. So imagine a cut on your thumb. It can sometimes take a while for it to heal. Now imagine your abdomen open.
For a year?
Yeah, they sedated me.
You were working in that year, right?
That year I wasn't working. What happened was my stomach was open. They put me in intensive care. I was out for about 6 weeks. They'd sedated me. I woke up after 6 weeks. I didn't know who I was, where I was, and I just remember hearing the beeping noise. And then I moved my hands, and with my right hand, I must have put it in my stomach and panicked, like my stomach's open. I didn't know where I was, and I must have pulled the tube that helps you breathe, which is put down your throat, and I yanked it out, and I split my vocal cords, so I lost my voice straight away. And then they have to explain who I was, how I got there, and everything. And then while I was in intensive care, I had another allergic reaction to a medication called tramadol, which is very common for pain relief. And that caused immediate nerve damage in my left arm by giving me a regular heartbeat, so I could have died of a heart attack. I lost feeling in my legs became really skinny, my arms became really skinny, I lost my hair, became really weak, couldn't move my legs, was in a wheelchair.
So I was going to say, some people, the motivation to become a personal trainer is like, you know what it feels like to be really skinny, or you know what it feels like to be really fat, or really out of shape, or really unhealthy. You make that change for yourself and you want to help other people. Yours is more extreme than that. You literally had to learn to walk again, right? Your health was in such a deteriorated place that you actually had to walk again.
But the thing is, it wasn't the first thing that came to mind, personal training. The first thing that came to mind is stay alive and try and take each day as it comes. I mean, I won't lie, there were suicidal attempts. I even tried to hang myself off the hospital bed using the drip, because it was that stressful being in hospital all that time. And when I did eventually come out of hospital, I couldn't sleep without some form of noise in the room or light on, because I got so used to the hospital environment. Yeah. So I got conditioned to that, so it took me a long time to get out of that. But what actually got me into even thinking about doing the gym was to get support from the government. It took a long time because they didn't understand my condition, so they didn't know how to help it, and they never sent anyone to actually assess me. And when they did, they realized they had to backdate everything and help me and provide the financial support I needed at the time from the first time we had applied. And then I started getting support, but it was all from family initially, and my stomach was still open when I actually came home. I was bedbound, I wasn't allowed upstairs. My dad used to say to me, look, just try and, even if it's a foot forward and back to the bed, try that whenever you feel like it. I gradually, over a long period of time, from the wheelchair, the bed, started walking to the downstairs modified shower room toilet for me, and then back. It was a gradual process, otherwise everything was being done in the bed before that. And it was traumatic, and it was depressing. I went through all the emotions, and it does trigger seizures even thinking about it. Even having a conversation like this can trigger it because of how memory starts coming back. And I'm trying to talk within sync of how things did happen, but it might be a little bit all over the place just because of how epilepsy impacts the memory. And it was just literally trying to get back and forth from the hospital, from the toilet. Is
there a connection to how this started to food poisoning?
It was basically, what I think I forgot to mention was I went to a festival, I had a kebab, but the pita bread had a bit of mould on it. I didn't eat it, I saw it, I threw it away after taking a few bites. But for that year, post that's when I started having asthma issues. And it was from an allergic reaction apparently to the mould. and they did a lot of allergy tests at the first hospital I was at. And when they did the test, they realised you've had an allergic reaction. That's what's brought all this on. And that's when they were able to highlight what condition exactly it was.
Wow.
And yeah, so that's what it was. It was an allergic reaction to mold on a pita bread over kebab.
And prior to that kebab,
I was fit and healthy.
your health was perfect.
No issues.
No issues at all.
Nothing. No issues whatsoever. I was fit and healthy. It took me a long time to get back to where I am now, and the only reason I even joined the gym, and it wasn't even to start work, it was just I joined it, was because the physio appointments, there's a lot of people will know, you just go there, they see you for a few minutes and they give you a list of exercises and say, I'll see you in a couple of months, and that's it. I was so frustrated with not getting the help at home and not being able to go to appointments all the time and being so dependent on everything, from someone wiping my ass to doing, you name it, everything for someone to do. I mean, think of it as someone completely debilitated, not able to do anything, which a lot of people come to probably feel a lot later in life, but I've been through that and I don't want to go back to that, so I do everything I can to not go back to that. And oh god, sorry, the beginning of that question was again?
The reaction
the gym,
to, gym.
So the gym, the reason I got into the gym was because the physio appointments got frustrating. I decided, sitting on the bed, where could I walk to without relying on my parents or a cab or anything to get some training? And my local gym was about 11-minute walk for a normal person, but for me it would have been just over half an hour. And I've recorded that I could, on certain walls, sit down if I needed a break. And the best time for me to go would be early hours, because there would be less people on the street. I could sit on someone's wall as I'm going, just to have a quick rest so I can get there. So I'm not relying on anyone giving me a lift or anything. And I did that, and the trainer I got was rubbish. He literally was on his phone the whole time. And being on the phone the whole time and not helping me, I got frustrated because I thought this would help better than the physio. So I was about to quit, and the fitness manager actually said, you know what, if you can be here early morning before the gym opens, I'll train you. But you've got to be here at that time. I said to him, I will. And then he actually then encouraged me, after helping me to get to using just one stick and staying on that and getting stronger from it, encouraged me to become a PT. But I said to him, look, I'm looking for a sales role at the moment. And he goes, just apply with the company, see where you can go. And I was in London Bridge initially because I knew I could walk from my house to the station, and it would just be from Stratford to another train to London Bridge. But what was funny about that is the first gym I'd actually applied to was in Oxford Circus, because I thought, you get to Stratford, you just walk across the platform. But the lady who came to hire me, or to give me the interview, just looked at me like, oh, as in, this guy's got to walk his thing. I didn't look well, basically.
Yeah.
So she didn't give me the job. I already felt I wasn't going to get it, but I got a call back for a different location in case I wanted to try there. And the first thing I said to the manager as he approached me was, look, don't judge me by how I look. I'll be able to do the job if you give me an opportunity. If I can't, I can't.
And he gave you the opportunity.
He gave me the opportunity.
Yeah,
and then I used to work there. I used to really plan and schedule everything so I could get there and back safely.
I think that's pretty evident to people's determination.
Yeah.
I think if someone's determined to do something, it doesn't matter how many times you're set back or you're looked upon as if you're not capable. If you know you've got that drive in you to succeed at something,
you're gonna do
you will do it.
And it comes across, I mean, I've been told I'm resilient a lot of times.
I think you have to be resilient.
You have to, and
I
it
think
makes you resilient.
The way life has maybe knocked you a little bit,
yeah,
you have no choice but to be resilient.
It's true.
And I think if you've not chosen to be resilient, it is very
and
possible that
case,
you're choosing to
I
give
wouldn't
up.
say you chose to, you're forced to.
Forced to,
and
exactly.
then you welcome it with open arms. Because after I got that job, within the first 6 months I got a sales award, and I got awarded something in front of managers of the company, and the lady who didn't hire me was there.
Really?
So that was a big something to her. And that was a great moment for me, but I was still training, not at that gym, but my local gym. And when an opportunity arose for a sales job there, I took that. And then from sales, I worked my way through to sales and PT, to fitness and PT, and then just PT. And I was doing, at the time, a lot of hours, 7 days a week, but my health was a lot better. I'd met my missus at the time, and I was a lot happier. A lot of positive things were happening in my life, which didn't let the epilepsy impact me. My health was getting better, and prior to meeting my wife's parents, we didn't meet for 12 weeks, but in those 12 weeks I was so determined to look my best. I didn't even tell her I was trying to lose weight, because I was 116 kilos at the time.
Wow.
I went down to 72 kilos
Wow.
in 12 weeks of training practically every day, and even if the food was boring, as long as it was working for me,
You
I
just
did it
committed
because I was
to it.
determined. And they had bought like some clothing for me, which was double XL.
Yeah.
They hadn't met me, and she didn't know I'd lost weight. I showed up as a medium, so that was funny.
So you're early on in life, you get this condition that is absolutely life-changing, and it came about from potentially eating something that had mold on it.
Yeah,
From that, you've had multiple surgeries. You've had to learn to walk again.
yeah, I've had my gallbladder out.
Your health deteriorated.
Yeah.
You've had 200 seizures. But from that, you've also got married. You're a father of 3.
Yeah, so what
Father of
happened,
3.
being told I may not walk or may not get out of the wheelchair, and to be walking was a big success. And then from that, to be married, and then to have 3 kids, and my daughter at the moment, she's...
How old is your youngest?
So my youngest is only 7.5 months.
Wow,
So
baby.
that's baby boy. And
Yeah.
when my daughter was born, she's the oldest. She's gonna be what's she now? She's gonna be 10 next year. She's gonna be 10 May. This May she's gonna be 10.
Yeah.
And when she was born, it was scary because she was 1 pound 2 ounces. So she was smaller than the old Sky remotes.
Wow.
And she was premature by 2 months. My other son, who's 2 years younger than her, he was premature by a month, and I just had another boy recently.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. So yeah, they said may not going to have this, but I allowed my faith, the support structure.
Let me
around
ask you a final question before you end that. So now you're father of 3. You've had a very successful PT career. It's not easy to get clients. I was a PT for 7 years.
It's not easy.
To try and get clients is not easy. You're completely standalone, which means you pay rent. So you need to earn the money from your clients to cover your rent and support your family.
And the reason I do that, sorry to interrupt, is because had I worked for a company, the amount of sick days I would have needed, and it would have worried me, and that would have caused more issues with my health. So standalone suits me because I can work the hours I want to work, and it doesn't impact the company, and my clients actually understand if I need to take time.
Being a personal trainer is a very physical job.
Very
physical. It takes a lot of your energy, and you're committed to training yourself. So
Yes.
I think my last question to you, Jazz, is what motivates you?
What motivates me is to not be dependent again. I help my clients become independent just as I've become independent. Just because someone's might have a small health condition doesn't mean it can't get bigger. It doesn't mean they don't face a challenge on a day-to-day basis. It is something. So what motivates me is I've got a daily battle. I'm constantly fighting. I'm doing well, not getting as many knocks, but there's always going to be an opportunity when you're in a fight to get knocked down, but you got to get back up, and that's what you do. So that's what I do. So I fight on a daily basis with my condition by putting in set routines, making sure my nutrition's right. I still have things like pizza, KFC, whatever, but I give my body the nutrition it needs through vitamins and eating more whole foods rather than processed foods. And although people say not to supplement, you may need to supplement. It helps with getting the right stuff in. It doesn't mean you change.
Depends what your body needs, right?
Yeah,
people just throw supplements down their
This is
throat,
it.
not realizing what their body's actually requiring. So it's important to find that out.
Because a lot of food is so processed now, you don't get anything. And because the environment's so like everyone's so stressed, like everything's stressful nowadays, that when you're stressed, your digestion system's not functioning. So you're not going to get nutrition from it anyway, because already it's been processed. So some of the nutrition's gone. Then you're cooking it, and you're more likely gonna. A lot of people do microwave it, which takes away more nutrition. And then by the time you eat it, you're not even digesting it, so you're not getting anything. So it's pointless. So by taking the vitamins I have, by researching them first and using them and seeing the difference it's made a difference to my health, and I know what I can do and what I was lacking, and it's made a difference to my whole well-being. We don't even have a microwave at home.
Really?
Yeah, we don't even have a microwave at home, and everything's freshly cooked, and then when we do heat it up at home, it's on the oven. So
I think it's important to ask finally as well, if anyone was to come across anyone having a seizure, what should they do?
So if someone's having an epileptic seizure or seizure, first of all, just make sure there's nothing around them that they were not going to get hurt with. Let them have the seizure. Don't try and put your fingers down their mouth because you might get them bitten off. Don't try and restrain them because they'll hurt themselves, if not yourself. It'll take them a few minutes to come around and they won't know what's going on. They won't even remember it. And they may probably have injured themselves. Also, to check their wrist in case, like myself, I have a wristband with my condition, emergency contact number and NHS number. As well as if you see them having a seizure and the seizure's lasted more than 3 minutes, where it keeps reoccurring while you're there, call an ambulance.
I think that's really important.
Yeah,
If the seizure's longer than 3 minutes, or if it's reoccurring, you have to call an ambulance.
And then also, if they just check if they if on them they have a medication. So I have something called midazolam. So you'd open it. It's a syringe without the needle. You'd basically just open the lower gum, squirt it on the gum because that's where the body will absorb it. It's a sedative. It will knock me out for up to 7 hours.
And it just calms your body down.
It just shuts it down and then call an ambulance. So these are the main things. And I think if anyone wants to work with me, the first thing I do is I get you to do a 4-page health questionnaire indicating everything that you possibly have going on with you regarding symptoms, prior health history, your current diet. Then I use that same information to do a complimentary consultation to discuss these with protocols that may help. I do a session with you just to assess how your body moves, functions, how you respond to the feedback I'm giving. Then I'll give you a list of options of what packages may suit you depending on your need, rather than trying to say, no, you need to go for the most expensive one. It's not about that. It's about what's going to be best for you. And the packages that I offer are affordable. It's an investment in yourself. It will make a difference. You'll notice a difference, as I'll also use that same questionnaire to create a personalized nutrition plan for you and training plan that I will help you track and amend where required until the formula fits and things are going right, and then let that keep happening for you.
Very good.
Yeah.
Jazz, thank you so much for your time. I think today's conversation was an important one because we never know what people are going through. Sometimes from how people look externally, you would never guess what they're battling with internally. So real eye-opener today, and I hope there's a lot of members that maybe learned something or it just brought awareness to epilepsy and the condition that you have.
One thing I did want to mention is when people do find out, one thing about long-term health condition, when people have a long-term health condition, one thing I think a lot of them will probably agree with me is we hate to be seen as someone vulnerable. So when people do find out, or if they do see me unwell, the one thing that does sort of, it's not upsets me or makes me like angry or anything, it's frustrating to be known as, are you alright? Like, you know, as in poor you. But
sort of pitied, right?
Yeah, they don't see the strengths in it. I mean, I used to be known between my circle of friends and people as Hospital Jazz.
Really?
Because there's so many jazzes out there, but to differentiate, they used to call me Hospital Jazz, which used to really hurt. But now I'm no longer known as that. I'm known as Jazz Boom or Jazz Boom PT or the PT Jazz. And the way the boom comes from is how this, I don't know, step by step, and then boom, things can change for you. And it's the same thing I do for my clients. I've got to take them through a step by step, and then a boom, where things change positively for them, rather than maybe 1, 2, 3 things happening, and then boom, they go
persistence, and then there's the moment where it all pays off.
Yes.
Yeah, wicked.
So that's that.
Jazz, thank you so much for your time today.
No problem, man. Thank you very much.